So this past week we talked about graphing functions, and I just wanted to go ahead and review that. Okay, here is my function, f of x equals 2x plus 3. And just a reminder, f of x really means the same thing as y. So if you see y, so if this was y equals 2x plus 3, that would be the same thing. Okay, and if you look here, I already drew my chart, but this would be the same thing as x comma y. I just went ahead and put f of x, which just means the function of x, or the result of what you get when you plug in x. Okay, and sometimes when you're asked to graph a function, you'll be given a specific domain. Okay, so here let's first look at when we're given a specific domain. And again, remember your domain is nothing more than your x values. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to graph this, I'm going to go ahead and put my x values here. So my x values are -2, 0, and 1. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what y values are produced when I plug these x values into the function. Okay, so my function is 2x plus 3, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to plug -2 in to see what I get. Okay, so that would give me 2 times x is -2 plus 3. Okay, so if I do this, 2 times -2 is -4. -4 plus 3 is -1. So what that tells me is when I plug in -2 into my function, I get out -1. Okay, so then my point would just be -2, -1. Okay, remember this is what I get when I plug in the x value. Okay, this is my domain and this is my range. The range is what you get when you plug in a specific domain. All right, so here my x value is 0. I'm going to plug it in. So 2 times 0 plus 3. Well, 2 times 0 is 0, and 0 plus 3 is 3. So when I plug in 0, I get 3. All right. And my last domain is 1. Again, I'm just going to plug 1 in. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 3 is 5. So when I plug in 1, I get 5 as a point. Okay. And so if I'm asked to graph this, so I was given a function in a specific domain, and if I'm asked to graph this, I'm just graphing the coordinates. So I'm just graphing -2, -1, 0, 3, and 1, 5. So I'm going to go ahead and graph those. Okay. If you look at, I have a little graph here. Okay. I'm going to graph -2, -1. That just means I go left 2, down 1. Okay. I'm going to graph 0, 3. Just means I stay here and go up 3. And then I'm going to graph 1, 5. Which just means I go right 1, up 5. Okay. And now, if I'm given a specific domain, so our natural tendency is to want to connect these dots. Okay. And that would be true if I had a domain of all real numbers. But here I'm only given a specific domain, and so the graph of this function, given this domain, is just these 3 points. Now, but let's look over here. Here, I'm given the same function, but they tell me my domain is all real numbers. Okay, and if that's the case, what you want to do is you want to pick x values to figure out what points you can graph. And since we already have the x values here, we can go ahead, and all we have to do here is connect the dots. So usually, of course, it wouldn't be as simple as we already have it worked out. But what you would have to do if you're given a domain of all real numbers is just pick random x values, plug it into the function, get your y values, plot these points on the graph, and then connect the dots. So the only difference with a domain of all real numbers and a domain that's specific is when you have a domain of all real numbers, you connect the dots. Okay, otherwise you're just plotting the points.